Hello everyone and welcome back to the podcast with myself, Tom Rust, and today absolutely delighted to be joined by a professional boxer, Mr. Jack Hughes, and apparently the most handsome man in boxing, Draper. How are you both doing?
All good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Thank you for coming again, only your fourth appearance.
Pleasure to be back.
And what about yourself, Mr. Draper?
Well, I'm better now after that entrance. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
No, you're very welcome. I was getting a little bit worried earlier because you was talking about maybe doing it in your bath, so I'm glad that you're dressed and all ready to go.
Well, you ain't seen the bottom half.
I just hope whatever you're recording this on don't slip, mate, because as much as it would do views, I don't need to be seeing that tonight.
Well, it won't do views, mate. You'll be kicked off YouTube.
I'll put that on my other channel. Happy New Year to you both as well.
Thank you, mate. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Draper, I think that before we crack on and get into it, I think you should tell everyone watching how you know Jack.
Let me get the exact message. So, when I first started doing what I do, obviously I had to start pitching, and I was messaging a few boxers, but on Twitter you can't get directly through to DMs. So I remember I see a thing up about Jack's fight, and I had seen him fight before, but I didn't say this to him. So I tweeted him, Jack, can you please DM me? So he said, yeah, and he messaged me. He said, hi, mate, just returning your tweet. And I said, I don't know if you know, I said, but I am a boxing designer. I do T-shirts, jumpers, social media posts. If it's of any interest to you, please let me know. And before he's replied, I've sent him like 20 pictures of all the work I've done. And I see him typing, and his exact reply was something along the lines of, oh, hey, mate. So basically, I'm fighting on the 27th of November. Tickets are available at York Hall, VIP, ringside, and standard. How many can I put you down for? I thought, what a dick.
Yeah, that's Jack. That's heartless, mate.
Mate, do you know what it is? Like, I get about, oh, mate, like, I don't even know, like, about 20 of these messages a day of, like, do you know, like, all these companies from, like, Asia somewhere trying to
OnlyFans and that.
Yeah, exactly, OnlyFans. Well, yeah, like, trying to sell me their stuff. And like sometimes it just annoys me, and then like sometimes I like to have fun and like I reply back to them doing what I've done with Kyle. And sometimes it obviously leads to some funny stories. And obviously me and Carl have one now, and obviously now we've turned out to be quite good mates, and his friends sponsor me, and so it, you know, it all's well.
Oh yeah, thanks for the message.
No, I think what the thing is, you know, when like you're at work and you can email people and you get that auto reply like, sorry, out of the office. I think that's what you've done, Jack. It's like auto response when people message you. It's just like, yeah, you can get standard tickets, VIP tickets, or whatever you want to do.
It was the how many can I put you down for that done me. And I was sitting there, I was at work, and I thought, do I reply? And then I was like, no, I have been to your fights. I've seen you live, la-di-da-di-da. And then we kind of got talking. And then, yeah, like Jack said, we ended up, my brother-in-law started sponsoring, shout out to them, Forrestal and Sons. And now we are where we are. Yeah, now he's a model for me. Look.
Yeah, trust me, I think I would have just blocked him.
Well, that's next.
But yeah, listen, now talking about, you know, Jack's last fight, I just wanted to go back to last year really, Jack, mate, because I know you had a few ups and downs. However, I'm pleased that last year you managed to finish on a big high. So I know we're early into this year, but just want to really get you to reflect on last year and just like talk us through it, if that's all right, matey.
Yeah, obviously, like last year was like full of loads of ups and downs. Obviously, the start of the year we was in full lockdown, and I couldn't train for a long time. And then the second my gym opened up, me and my trainer actually like parted ways. And then lo and behold, I ended up sparring AC Kadimi, where I met my coach now. So that was like quite a high point. And then, you know, we were training without no fight date. And then we had 2 fights scheduled with Ricky Little. And obviously, we all know the story, he pulled out twice. So they were quite low moments.
Have you heard anything from him? Sorry to jump in, but I know that, you know, you sort of went AWOL. We spoke about in the last video, but have you heard anything, or like your management? Have they mentioned anything about his whereabouts? Or
No, like obviously the last I heard was that no one could get hold of him.
Yeah.
And Steve said to me that he thinks that they're both appearing in front of the board to obviously, you know, speak about what they did and so on and so forth, him and his promoter. So I think he may have got fined, but I'm not too sure. But he did actually post a picture on Facebook the other day, just of like his new logo about and like that. Like a comeback. I have no idea if he's retiring. I have no idea. I have no idea what he's doing. So, but no, that's the last I've heard from him.
Yeah, no, obviously we've spoken a couple of times before, and I know it was a bit up and down, and you know, you was almost like half expecting him to pull out, which he did again. However, fortunately, you got an opponent to step in, so you could still fight 27th of November. Talk to us about that fight.
Yeah, like I think I spoke a little bit about it last time I was on. So obviously it was a step up. It was like 2 weights, African champion. It was just as a whole, it was just an amazing night. Like it was just great to be back at York Hall. It was great to have, you know, the fans watching again. And I've seen to have built up my like popularity, because before I wasn't a ticket seller at all, and I used to really struggle to sell tickets, and I used to have to like put my own money in to make fights happen sometimes. And like this time around, I ended up selling 95 tickets, and probably would have sold over 100 if it had been a Ricky Little fight. And so yeah, I just think I'm in a good place, and I think the time away did me well, and I think the COVID itself kind of did me well, because people missed me, I guess, and like they missed live events and so on and so forth. So I think the whole thing was really good for me, and it's built up my popularity, and people seem to be getting on board with me now. But yeah, I'm just I'm in a good place, I think. And last year was a bit of as much as there was downs, there was just as many ups, and yeah, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, mate, it was brilliant to see you finish your year on a high. But Carl, you was at the fight, wasn't you?
Yes, I went there with obviously Rod, who sponsored Jack. Just brilliant. Like, you know, Jack's obviously said about it on previous podcasts about like the struggles that went on throughout, like Ricky pulling out and stuff like that. And he plays himself down. You know, Jack, he boxed brilliantly. The guy was big. Do you know what I mean? And I will say, the ref, every time Jack come in, he was holding, and the ref, he must have held 20 times this commie. But Jack was moving well. You know, he dominated the fight. He never looked in trouble. He did nearly give me and Rod a heart attack in the last round, because he started acting a bit of a prat. But he was in full control.
Yeah, no, I was fortunate. I managed to watch the fight. Someone was I saw clip like sort of snippets of it, and then obviously Jack sent me the full fight. But yeah, quality performance, mate. What a way to finish a year. And for yourself as well, obviously started your like sort of like merchandise, t-shirt designing like business last year. Talk to us about how you got into that, and how it's going, and how you can help fighters.
It started quite randomly. So obviously I love boxing, you know, it's my favorite sport. And I got a few shirts. I got a Troy Williamson shirt, a couple of AJ shirts, and they were costing like £45. Like Troy, to be fair, like he sent me a shirt. I was grateful for that. And a mask after he won when he beat I can't remember who it was he beat. But yeah, so I was looking into it, and I just thought, look, I'm gonna have a go at it. So I started by doing like Twitter headers and stuff. And then I thought I could just put these on shirts. So I put a thing out on Twitter and just said, look, if anyone who supplies clothing is interested in, you know, talking about potentially getting involved in boxing, give me a message. And literally I woke up the next morning, I had a message from a guy in Scotland. We had a go. I did Mark's shirts, and it's just growing now. I'm not with the Scottish guy no more. I'm with a guy down in Essex, HB Apparel. But you know, we're just working with a lot of fighters. I've got Mark's next fight. There's a few coming up. I do a lot of social media stuff, especially for Mark and for Jack, because, you know, they're good guys, you know, and if I can help them just by doing a little picture, I'll do it. But in terms of what I can do, it's anything. It's t-shirts, hoodies, tracksuits, social media, advertising, whatever you need. Just drop me a message, and we'll work something out.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about all the bits and pieces you can do, but you sort of covered it off. Yeah, I remember you saying you had a few issues with the bloke up in Scotland, but you're all sorted now with your the chap in Essex.
Yeah, it wasn't so much issues. It was like the limited sort of what I could get hold of type thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was he worked on the side, so it wasn't his actual business. So he went through someone else.
Oh, okay.
So it was timekeeping and stuff. We did fine. I've got no complaints about him. It was just we both have our own jobs, and it was, I think it was a lot to take on for both of us, and we weren't fully into it type thing.
And how are you getting on?
But, yeah, the new guys.
I know that you said go on.
No, go on. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, we were speaking earlier, you mentioned that, you've done a few podcasts recently, like the West Ham one. Obviously, you're on here tonight and other bits and pieces. How's it all going?
Yes, it's, I'm grateful to anyone who just gives me a chance. I can come on and talk about it, but like I say, I love boxing. I went on the West Ham Way one, and that was mainly to talk West Ham, but they give me a chance to talk about what I do. One of the guys at my work, his brother does a music podcast. He wants to get me on there. I don't know a lot about music, but seeing Jack singing tonight, I might have to be up with him.
I was saying to him as well, mate, before you come on, is he going to do a Tyson Fury? He's going to have a fight and not sing at the end?
Well, maybe he should sing at the end of this.
Is that the plan, Jack, going forward? A little sing song at the end?
What, at the end of this podcast?
No, well, fill your boots, mate. But you can do that, and I can obviously snippet that out and put that on separately. So that's fine. But do you know what? If there's one person though that I think could fight, get everyone singing along at the end, I think that'd be you, mate. Because there's so many people that are very generic, but you're a bit more sort of out there, a little bit different. You're a bit like quirky. In a good way. And I think that's obviously helping you, like you say, you've sold so many tickets for the last fight. So yeah, mate, a sing song at the end. What are you saying?
Maybe I'll think about it.
It has to be done.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping to, all being well, be at the fight in March the 12th for the Southern area, right?
Yeah, that is the one, mate.
Yeah, so coming on to that again, massive win for you at the end of last year. Did you take much time off? I know speaking to you, you said you was going to, or how long did you take off before you sort of jump back into training?
Yeah, I've had a couple mess around spars with one of my friends who's like a white collar fighter, but as far as like actual real hard training goes, even now we're still not really there. Like I've gone back to the gym here and there, did a couple sessions, but it's about like 9.5 weeks out still at this moment in time. So the real hard training will be when it's about 8 weeks out. But I'm just ticking over at the moment and trying to keep fit. But the last couple of weeks with work's been like extremely busy, obviously because it's been Christmas time and now the new year. So work's kind of holding me back a little bit. But when the time comes, 8 weeks, that's when it gets super serious for us.
Are you still on the bins?
Yeah, still on the bins, mate. Yeah.
So when you really sort of like get into it, like all seriousness, like a stereotypical day, what does that look like for you? Because I was speaking to obviously Jordan, you know him very well, a couple of nights ago. He was saying sometimes I like train 3 times, but predominantly it's twice a day. And he was telling us about all the different bits and pieces that he does. So for yourself, just sort of like talk to us a little bit about that sort of gradual process, and when you sort of up the training, you start to taper off towards the end.
So yeah, obviously I'm not as fortunate as Jordan. I have to work. Well, to be honest, I was fortunate enough not to work for my last one, but most camps I've always worked. So I get up at 4 a.m. I sort myself out, head down to work. They let me know what team I'm on. Sorry, my girlfriend just sorry. Yeah, they let me know what team I'm on, and then I start my shift at 6 a.m. on the bins. It could be like recycling, it could be black bags, it could be anything that what your local binmen do. And sometimes I'm fortunate, sometimes I get off early in the morning, like 9, 10, 11. Sometimes it drags out to like 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon. Like I hit around like 25 to like 37,000 steps a day on the bins. And then straight after work, I'll come in, I'll go straight down to the gym. which is like, it's a 2-hour journey for me to get there and back. So like that's 4 hours just traveling of my day. I'll train for anywhere between an hour or two at the gym, come home, and if it's like, I run every other day, so if it falls on like a Monday, Wednesday or a Friday, I'll then chill out at home for an hour, then go down to the track and then come back home, and that's basically my whole day gone basically.
Mate, that sounds absolutely brutal.
It is, mate, it is very brutal.
Like,
but
20,000 steps, 25,000 steps, like doing your job, 4 o'clock start, a 2-hour commute before you get to training. I take it you managed to catch up on a little bit of sleep though on the way there.
Yeah, sometimes I do, mate. Yeah, like I don't know if I've actually spoke about it before in this podcast, but I'm a terrible sleeper. Like sometimes I run on like literally 2 hours sleep a day, and I have I don't actually have it, but what's that thing called, you know, when you have like a fear of missing out?
Well, I thought you was going to say what's the thing when you can't sleep, insomnia.
Oh.
I don't know what the thing is when you've got a fear of missing out.
There's a name for it, but yeah, like, so, you know, sometimes I'll be on the computer online with my friends and all that, and like I'm always the last one to jump off because I don't want to miss something. And then, like, you know, my friends tell me I've got that thing where it's like you've got a fear of missing out, and sometimes that will I'll jump off at like 12 o'clock and I'm up at 4, and like, you know, and because I'm a bad sleeper, it takes me sometimes like half an hour to an hour to get to sleep. So by the time I get to sleep, it's like 1 in the morning, and I'm up at 4 in the morning, and then I've got that whole day ahead of me. So yeah, my body just runs on little to no sleep all the time.
Well, for anyone watching this who does know the name of what you're referring to, please go down below and tell us in the comments. But do you reckon like your lack of sleep is something to do with the 4 or 5 monsters you drink every day?
No,
just putting it out there, mate, you know, because I know they're full of sugar, so on caffeine and all the rest of it.
People say that, but it's not, because even when I was a kid, I was always been a terrible sleeper, and then like some days I'll have 3 and I'll crash out at like 6 in the afternoon, and then some days I'll have none and I'll be up until like 2, 3 in the morning. So it doesn't really seem to make a difference. Have
you tried like anything like meditation or I don't know, anything else? I know that there's, you know, the bloke that climbed the Shard in London, George King. I was watching him on a podcast a little while ago. It sounds like what he was saying. He says like he just struggles to switch off, so he has to go through like this sort of hour process before he's actually going to sleep to actually mentally prepare for sleep. It sounds crazy, but he said he just struggles to sleep so much. So it might be worth checking that one out, mate.
Maybe, yeah.
When you say like sleeping, sorry, what are you like the night before a fight? Are you out, or are you thinking about the fight? You know,
just the same. My sleep is just shit. Like I'll be up, but because the fight's always in the afternoon, I just normally sleep in. So like once I get to sleep, even then, like, I'll wake up through the night as well. So it's never like a full like 6 hour, 4 hour sleep. So on the days of the fight, like I'll probably go to bed at like 2, 3, and then I'll just probably keep waking up like throughout until like 2, 3 in the afternoon, and then just make my way down to York Hall.
That's mad. That's mad, mate. Now looking forward to March the 12th. You're fighting Paul Roberts for the Southern Area title. What do you know about your opponent, and you know, how confident are you going into that one? I know you are full of confidence at the moment, but you know, obviously, you know, that aside, obviously you don't want any complacency to creep in. What do you know about your opponent? What can you tell us about him?
I don't know too much about Paul, but I mean, I've seen footage of him. I've seen some of his older fights, and I've seen obviously his most recent fight against Shoei. And I know his record isn't particularly great, but at the same time, he has lost to some pretty good journeymen. But yeah, I'm so confident about this one, and I think I'm actually going to end up stopping him late. The thing I was so disappointed with my last fight is the fact that the guy was like 2-3 weights bigger than me, because I couldn't, and the fact that it got dropped down to a 6-rounder, because my game plan is to, is just to come forward and break people's will eventually, which I know I can do, and I've done it plenty of times before. And I just think over 10 rounds with someone my weight class, with everything I've learned over the last 2 years, I truly believe that I'm gonna break his will somewhere in the mid rounds, and I'll get him out late, like 8, 9, or 10.
Are you training for the stoppage then?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily train or look for it, but I just know that once I get going and once I set a pace, there's not many people that can keep up with it, and I just think that his will be broken.
Yeah, I suppose first and foremost you're going in there to get the win, and if it's points or if it's a late stoppage for you, I suppose that's a bonus.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know much about him, Carl?
No, I've got to be honest. I know quite a bit about boxing, but I don't know this guy. I've seen like him be on cards. I've never seen him fight. But as Jack just said, I think with the year he's had, I don't think anyone's would beat him at Southern Area level, even English. I think on that night, I think he wants it that much, and I think he deserves it. And I look forward to it. I think he's right. I think knockout.
100%. I was going to say in the sing song after. Jack, when we had Jordan on a couple of nights ago, he said that he's in no mood to sort of wait around. He's trying to get titles as quickly as possible, and he said there could be a potential fight between you in the future. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, like that's the only thing about boxing which is a bit shit, is that sometimes you do have to fight. You do have to fight your friend, and me and Jordan, we get on so well. Like before we spar, we'll always have a long chat. Then after we spar, we'll have a long chat, and then we message each other sometimes over Instagram, always wishing each other well, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's not something I really want to do, but at the end of the day, it is boxing, and we're in the same weight class, and we both, at one point or another, will probably have something that the other wants, and it will happen. It probably will happen somewhere down the line, and that I'm not one to ever duck anyone or shy away from any challenge. So, of course, once the opportunity comes up, I'll take it and I'll jump at it. But it will be a shame. I mean, it would be a great fight, but it would be a shame to fight each other because we are friends.
Well, hopefully you might manage to avoid each other. But going back to Paul Rob, have you got a message for him before the fight coming up in March?
Not really. Just just train hard and keep focused. I don't know. Like the thing with me is that if there's no bad blood between us, I'm not gonna make bad blood. Like he seems like a nice guy. He followed me on Insta. He likes some of my posts. I follow him. He seems like he's a nice like family man, so on and so forth. So I'm not gonna just be like fucking prick, go up. Like, but
yeah, no, I respect that.
Yeah.
But no, it will. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping nearer the time we can get you both on together to talk about it. I'm hoping to get him on separately as well, to talk about the fight in March. But yeah, mate, we're in January. It's the months just seem to fly by. So before you know it, mate, it'll probably be here.
Yeah, mate, it will be. It's flying.
Going back to last year as well, I did mention to both of you before tonight, I really wanted to get both your opinions on last year and sort of like three fights that stood out to you both. If we can start with you first, Mr. Draper, I hope you've had a chance to sort of have a little think and come up with some answers, matey.
Yeah, I've got 3 that stood out. I mean, you think about fights every year, you go back like 3 months and there's been so many. So yeah. I know there's going to be a fight I forgot. I think Fury Wilder was.
You can do more if you want to.
Yeah, but I think I've got 3 main. I think Fury Wilder, the third fight, was, although it weren't technically great because Fury didn't have the greatest camp because obviously personal reasons. That was such a exciting fight. The knockdowns. You just didn't know when Fury went down if he was going to come back up and go for it, and he did the same as he did in the first fight. I don't watch a lot of American boxing, but Josh Taylor versus Ramirez was just That was incredible. I think Josh Taylor is pound for pound in the top 4, 5 definitely.
Probably
I
the
think
best
he's
UK
incredible.
fighter, isn't he? Josh Taylor. It's like on paper, yeah, he doesn't seem to have sort of the the following that he probably sort of justifies. But yeah, incredible fighter.
His resume speaks for itself. He hasn't pulled. He's not avoided anyone. He fights away. Do you know what I mean? When was the last time he fought in Scotland or Britain? Probably the final, wasn't it, against that Prograde? Again, another great fight. That was last year, though, wasn't it? The year before, 2020. And the last one I did, I don't know, Troy Williamson, Ted Cheeseman, Barnstormer. And obviously, I talked to Troy. So I like Troy a lot, and to see him do what he did that night was great. You know, Ted's always in, he's always in a war, and he never gets stopped. You know, when he lost to was it Garcia for the European, and that was probably the most uncomfortable I've been watching a boxing match, because he was just taking shot after shot after shot. But for Troy to stop him like he did, I think that was a statement, a big time statement. And I think he European shot next, straight in.
Yeah, those 3 fights are all worthy of fights of the year. For me, going back to your options, Fury, Wilder, that was one of mine. I think Fury, just incredible. Look at his journey over the last sort of 5 years, when beat Klitschko, had a few years out due to like mental health reasons, come back. I heard Eddie Hearn talking only a few days ago about saying, when he saw him, I think they had a meet in was it Monaco or somewhere?
Monaco, yeah,
and
he was fight.
Yeah, he was saying he was sat opposite him and he was thinking, this bloke is not fighting again. And for him now to be, world champion, he's actually managed to defend the belt now as well. And that fight, like you say, technically was sort of all over the place, but managed to keep going. And I was absolutely delighted when he got the stoppage. Josh Taylor, do you know what? I actually saw him. I don't know if you saw it he was doing a bit of punditry for Sky. He was alongside Eubank. Did you see that?
Oh, the other week.
I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was funny because you had Josh Taylor, which he's got all the belts, and Eubank obviously hasn't. But Josh Taylor was so humble, so modest, and Eubank was just sort of like speaking like he's been there and done it all, which is sort of his character. It sort of was quite funny to watch. And yeah, Cheeseman, he's always in a a fight. There's no dull fights when he's involved. So yeah, 3 good picks, mate.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Mr. Hughes.
Ones that stood out for me was George Camboas versus Teofimo Lopez. Just after the whole, it was kind of like my situation. Like 1 minute was on, then it was off, then it was on, then it was off, and it just seemed like it was never going to happen. And so obviously it eventually did, and it was just an amazing fight, I think. But did both fighters get dropped? I think as well. Yeah. Both got up. 12-round absolute war, and Camboas was such a big underdog, and I always love the underdog story, and it was just a great fight, and it just well and truly lived up to the hype. Another one that really stood out was just because the way it ended, I was so shocked, was Kiko Martinez and Kid Galahad, because I mean literally no one expected Kiko Martinez to win, and yeah, just the way it happened, it was just amazing. And another one that I was looking forward to for a long time was the Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard rematch.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, hopefully we might get a third one. I don't think we will, because Yard won in quite a devastating fashion, but it was just another one that got me really excited.
Yeah, no, three quality picks. Yeah, no, that Yard fight that was brilliant. I think I was messaging you that night, Cole. I think you was watching it.
Yeah,
I was actually listening to that on the radio, because I think that's when I had COVID and I couldn't leave the bedroom. I watched the highlights the following day. Yeah, it was emphatic stoppage. But that was the night. Who was the? I can't remember the name. The name where he hit him when he was down. Remind me of the name.
Oh,
Hamza Sheeran.
Yeah, just what's
terrible.
Yeah. Do you know what I watched that, and I was listening to Talk Sport, and they were talking about it. Like Simon Jordan was quite vocal about they had Frank Warren come on as well, and he was saying, no, he should have just been disqualified. It's all well and good saying the fighter wants to continue, but to a point, the fighter is always going to continue. You've got to sort of protect themselves from themselves, I suppose, in a way. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so on that, Bradley Skeet come out and said, I think he was speaking to Coogan, and he said that I think it was Steve Gray, the ref, said to him, look, if you don't get up, he told him to take his time, and then once he'd taken a bit of time, he said, look, if you don't get up, I've got to stop it. I've got to stop the fight. But if that was on the other foot, say Bradley Skeet had done that to Shiraz,
yeah,
100% would have been disqualified there and then. Controversial or not, I stand by that. And how it hasn't been overturned is... I think I was talking to both. I think I was talking to you as well, Jack, when it was on, and I just couldn't believe what I see. Like it was one hit. Okay, you swing when they're going down, but the second one when he was on the floor, and followed by a third, is I'm shocked, and I feel so sorry for Bradley Skeet because he was dominating the fight. Absolutely, he was miles ahead, and then that happened.
Yeah, to go somewhere where you're the away fighter, the odds are sort of stacked against you if it goes a distance. But for that to happen, and with the sort of like time we are now, in this sort of day and age, for them to not to review that, and sort of just call it a no contest or whatever, it did surprise me. But when they had Frank Warren on TalkSport, they tried to get I can't remember the name, but they're both from the British Board of Boxing Control. He basically messaged, say, I'm in a meeting, I can't come on, because they wanted to obviously question him about it. But yeah, no, unbelievable. Is he taking the rematch? Because I heard Frank Warren saying they offered it to him.
I don't know. I wouldn't if I was him, personally. I don't know. Probably Jack. If that happened to you, Jack, what would you do?
Yeah, like obviously I just have my say on it as well, and then I'll go into what the question was. But yeah, like it was just absolutely disgusting. Like I'm quite a big believer in kind of like winning by all means necessary, and like I would consider myself a little bit of a dirty fighter as well. Like I know a lot of dirty tricks on the inside. Like I throw shoulders, obviously, which is illegal, and I pull people about again, which is obviously illegal. But there's kind of like, at the end of the day, it is a fight, so expect to get roughed up a little bit. But that was just it was just something else, and completely and utterly out of the rules. Like if you shoulder someone, you could get warned 3 or 4 times before they take up a point. But if you're hitting someone whilst they're on the ground, completely defenseless, that is a straight DQ, like no questions asked. And as Carl said, if it was the other way around, it would have been a DQ. We see it happen before with Charlie Edwards and that Martinez fella. When that happened, it was a straight DQ. Martinez didn't win the fight, and it didn't go into investigation. It was straight DQ. And that is a massive problem with boxing nowadays. It's like, if you are an away fighter, it is near enough impossible to win a fight, because everything just seems to be in your favor nowadays. It's like the ref is on your side, the judges are on your side. You can get away with literally absolute murder, which pretty much happened in that Skeet fight. It was literally murder. Like, he was on the floor and got whacked 3 times, and he was completely and utterly defenseless. For me, I would take the rematch if I was Skeet, because for him, there is unfinished business there, and you always want to have kind of to set the record straight. And because, like, obviously we all know it was wrong, but at the end of the day, because he's lost that fight in the rankings, he's going to go down, and he's not going to get the opportunities that he deserves because he lost that fight. So really the only way to go back and get back up in the rankings is for him to take that fight, and I do believe that he will win it if the rematch does happen.
I think a prime example was with Conor Benn, Chris Algieri a few weeks ago, when he, massive knockout. You see him go in to, hit him again, and he pulls his arm away because he knows, he's on the floor. But if you was in that situation, Jack, you was hit when you shouldn't have been hit, and if you stay down, the other fella's going to be, sort of disqualified. Are you more inclined to do that, or if you feel like you can carry on, you know, what I suppose it's a difficult one because you don't know how you're feeling unless you're in that situation. But what are your sort of instincts?
So that's the thing as well. Do you remember we've spoke before about whatever you do, it's always going to be a lose-lose situation, and that's another thing as a fighter. If you're a real fighter, you're born and bred fighting. Any fighting man's obviously going to get up and continue, but even if your senses ain't right, which clearly Skeet wasn't, and he's well entitled to stay down and get the guy disqualified after what happened. If he did that, everyone's going to jump on his back and be like, oh, what a helmet. Like he just got up. Like, I mean, he stayed down and this and that and this and that. Like, I would never do that. I would never do this. And, you know, like all these keyboard warriors come out. And then when he gets up and gets knocked out, it's, oh, well, he should have just stayed down. Like, why did he get up? Like, he should have never have got up. Like, so he was always in a lose-lose situation, whatever happened. But at the end, I mean, at the end of the day, it should have been a disqualification anyway. But because it wasn't, no matter what he did, he was never going to win in the public's eye unless he actually went out and knocked him out and won the fight. He was never going to win. So, but for me, yeah, I would have done the same thing. I would have got up and, you know, but at the end of the day, that shouldn't have even come into consideration because it should have been a disqualification.
Yeah, no, it was a crazy situation for him to be in. If he takes a rematch, hopefully for himself, he can sort of put it right. But another fight just before Christmas. I don't know if you watched it, Chisora Parker. I know Chisora seems like he's been around forever. Parker, you know, former world champion. I thought it was a brilliant fight. Derek Chisora is proper resilient. He kept on going. Parker put him down with some big shots. I just wanted to get your opinion whether you think, you know, you should call it a day or carry on.
Who do you want to go answer first, me or Carl?
Yeah, good then. Sorry. Go on then.
Go on, Jack.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really like to tell fighters that they should retire unless they do tend to take like a hell of a lot of punishment. Chisora is in a lot of wars, but I don't know if he takes like crazy punishment all the time. And I mean, he regardless how many fights he loses, he's probably always going to get really good paychecks from boxing. And sometimes it's kind of hard to walk away from that when you're going to make good money and you know you're not going to make money that good anywhere else. And I always just think it should always be down to the fighter. If he's happy, if he feels like he's happy to continue and he's still got things to offer, I think he should just keep fighting. I mean, like another fighter I always like to watch, even now, even though he's old, is Ricky Burns, and people probably say that he should retire, but he said it himself that he just loves boxing, he just loves the sport, and it doesn't matter what level he competes at. He'll just fight until he wants to retire, and I think this should be really the same for everyone. If you're still happy fighting and it makes you happy, you know, just continue doing what makes you happy at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, he's a big draw, you know, and when you've got Eddie Hearn offering you probably hundreds of thousands of pounds to fight, it's probably hard to walk away from that. But yeah, no, I still think he's got a lot in the tank. You know, I'd like to see him fight someone like Joe Joyce or Daniel Dubois in a big sort of like domestic fight. I think that'd be brilliant. But yeah, I think he's still got a lot to offer. And yourself, Carl?
I think the same as Jack. I think one thing with Chisora is he loves a pound note. You know, he goes the last 3 fights. Look what he's saying. You know, he strapped his mouth up and said, "Pay me more" at the press conference. Didn't say a word for 2 days. And then the fight before, he refused to fight. It took I think it was a relative to call and say, "Stop being a baby and fight." But he's not showing signs of decline. Like, yes, he took some heavy shots, but he got up from every one. I know he walked away a few times, like when the bell went and whatnot.
Yeah, I was like, where are you going?
Yeah, but we'll all pay to watch him. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to see him fight Wilder. I'd love that fight. I think that would be I think he'd get knocked out, but I think for 4 or 5 rounds, it'd be an absolute barnstormer. But I like him. I mean, yes, he's questionable character in things that he's done over the years. I think a few years back he was a bit more wilder than he is now. You know, like kissing people and stuff like that.
Brian Tables,
But
Mark Tibbs, and all that.
yeah, I remember Mark Tibbs. I won't say what he said, but that was I remember watching that live. That was crazy. But yeah, I mean, I like him. I think you can't tell someone when to retire. He's still entertaining. He can still throw a shot. I wouldn't say he's a gatekeeper to world level, but I'd say he's just above it. But he's not world level, if that makes sense. I'd like to see him against a Wilder or even like Joe Joyce. I think that's a great fight because they just smash the life out of each other for 12 rounds, and that would be that. But yeah, I'd like to see him carry on a couple more fights. No more than this year, though. He can't go on longer than that, surely.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like I was saying at the beginning, I think it does feel like he's been around forever. You know, when you think of like when he fought Fury, that seems like a lifetime ago. But yeah, I'd like to see him carry on. So I think you're right. I think he's still got a good couple of fights in him. The Wilder fight really interests me. Again, I agree with you. I think he gets knocked out. And I personally think as well, after watching Wilder in December, I know his ego took a beating, and so did he. But I think he beats all the other heavyweights. After watching him against Fury, you know, Wilder's durable. He's not technically the best, but that one trick he's got is incredible. And I think he beats Joshua. I think he beats Wyatt. The only person he doesn't beat is Fury for me.
What about Usyk?
No, I think he beats him. I think
Mm.
I think he's shown in, you know, against Fury and all the other fighters, you know, he only needs to catch you once. You know, he only needs to be good for a second and catch you with that one punch. As much as Usyk's good, he moves well. I don't know, how much did Joshua really test him? He didn't really put he caught him once or twice, but whereby Joshua before, once he hurts someone, he's clinical. You know, he puts his shots together and he goes in with brilliant combination and gets people out. But he didn't really do that against Usyk. But Usyk, Wilder, another great fight. You know, I might be completely wrong, but for me, I think Wilder knocks him out.
No, I agree. I think Wilder has just got one of them. He's kind of like Lawrence Okoli, like literally pretty much identical to Lawrence Okoli. And that one trick is, as he said, is absolutely devastating. And I've watched hundreds of Wilder fights, and near enough in every single one, he's getting outboxed, and then he just lands one shot, and then it is lights out. And I think he will always catch you. And the only person that's ever been able to withstand it was Tyson Fury. And obviously he's just an incredible man. He's just built different to most people. And I don't think when Wilder eventually finds Usyk's chin, I don't think Usyk will be able to get up like Tyson Fury did.
I don't think anyone can go 36 minutes and not get caught. You know, you can like Tyson Fury, prime example, arguably one of the best fights ever. Well, I suppose that's a matter of opinion, but definitely in this era, incredible. I think if you put anyone in there, you're going to get clipped. Whether you can get up or not is a different story. But you know, going back to Joshua as well, you know, I know we've spoken, Jack, about the rematch. What do you think on the rematch, Carl?
Well, I'm quite biased. I'm an AJ fanboy.
Get off.
He got it wrong. He got it completely wrong. You know what I mean? It was. Yeah, when I see Jack on Sunday, him and Terry like booed me out of their flat when I mentioned that. I get out. But listen, if he goes in there and does what AJ's known to do, you know, bully, and who knows? You know, I'm going to say I think he can do it if he fights the right fight. But my head tells me that Usyk's just too good. He'll stay, because I think Usyk knows he's going to come in there now and try and knock him out. And Usyk's unbelievable with skills. Do you know what I mean? And I just hope he does, but I don't know. I don't want to say he can't, but
I don't know if you would agree, but I don't watch many interviews of AJ, but having said that, he doesn't do that many. But I saw the interview he did with Coogan in Dubai, and that one he did, the other one, it was quite lengthy. But for me, it sounds like he doesn't really know what he's doing at the moment, like whether he's like, you know, looking for a new coach. Because then 1 minute he's saying, I'm done learning. Then he says, I need to learn more. He seems quite angry. And he seems like as well that everyone was saying, you know, you can't outbox this bloke. You need to go in there you need to be clinical. You need to sort of like be raw, Anthony Joshua. That be the person that got you to where you are now. But he seemed like he was just wanting to go in there and prove everyone wrong, and he come unstuck.
It's a bit of arrogance, isn't it? Like this guy's coming up from a lower division, wants to take his belts. Everyone's saying about how Usyk's the best boxer in the world, and he thought, I'll show what I can do. I would put it down to arrogance, trying to prove people that he can. Usyk isn't as good as he thought, but I bet he regretted that after about 4 rounds.
Well, that's the thing. Like Coogan was saying, what was the game plan? And he was saying, well, you've got to speak to my coaches. And then Coogan was saying, well, surely you know the game plan. I know, he's not. Sorry?
Did they not share it with you, AJ? Did they just say, get in the ring and we'll tell you?
Well, that's the thing. We're talking, the elite level of boxing. You don't get any, higher than, world title fight. Anthony Joshua, probably the most commercialized boxer there is on the planet. And you're going into a fight that means so much, and you're not clear, or you're just going against it. I just can't comprehend that and understand how he gets to fight night and he's either going to, go against what his team is saying, or he's not clear. It just baffles me. It really does.
I don't think the corner helped. Obviously Rob McCracken, everyone's going, you're boxing beautifully, brilliant round.
Yeah, what's all that about?
I can't remember what I scored it, but AJ, obviously, probably again best for Jack to answer. When you're in that ring, you're just concentrating on that man. The amount of times you hear in the corner towards the end of a fight, the boxer say to their trainer, "Am I up?" Jack, when you're fighting, do you know you're winning rounds? If it's like, obviously if you're like you did against Comer, you knew that. But if it's a close fight, do you ask your trainer a lot, or is it something that you don't worry about until the final bell?
It's actually really, sometimes it depends what kind of fight it is. Like if it's a boxing match, I feel like sometimes if you're the better boxer, I feel like you should know that you're winning. But if it's kind of it's a bit messy, you can still be winning clearly, but because it's messy and shots are coming in from all angles and people getting thrown around, like sometimes it's a bit like, oh, am I winning this fight? Am I not winning this fight? And even though you could be clearly up, but sometimes when you're in there, it is hard to gauge in them kind of moments if it's like a war, or as I said, if it's messy. But yeah, like I could never be with a coach that was like never honest with me. Personally, I never ask if I'm up. I just go back to the corner, and my coach should be telling me if it was a good round, and it's not. But if my coach was lying to me and telling me, oh, you're up, when I was miles down, I could never ever have a person like that in my corner. Like I need like brutal honesty when I'm boxing. I need to know if I'm doing a good job, or I need to know if I'm doing a bad job.
Yeah, for me, I feel like Rob McCracken should have just been saying towards the end of the fight, you need to go out there, you need to take this bloke's head off because you are down. If you don't go out there and knock him out, you've lost. Game over, sort of thing. Is that the sort of thing you want to hear, Jack? If it might be a little bit close, clearly Usyk was running away with it towards the end, but if you're down and you need the knockout, is that what you want your coach to be telling you?
Yeah, as I said, 100%. I need brutal honesty. Like if it's in the last round and I'm miles down in the scorecards, I don't want someone telling me that I'm up and then I go in and kind of play it safe in the last round when I should be looking for a knockout or to drop the guy or whatever. Like you need to know these things. Like sometimes you need a reality check, and if you're not getting that in certain rounds, you're not going to make any adjustments. You're not going to change, and you're not going to go for a stoppage if you need one. If you keep getting told that you're winning when you're losing, you're not going to make these adjustments.
I feel as well sometimes AJ, in interviews, he talks about business so much, and I feel like, I don't know if you'd agree, Carl, but it seems like just focus on your boxing. I don't know how many millions you've got in your bank, probably hundreds of millions by now. You don't need to be worrying about that. Just let your team worry about your business, and you just concentrate on the fight. But he always refers to being business savvy and etc. I think sometimes that might just hinder him in his actual boxing career.
I think there was something, wasn't there, for the Ruiz rematch when he had like Lynx, Under Armour, and he was doing like 7 sponsors. And I'm sure Eddie Hearn come out and said, like AJ has said for the second Ruiz fight, he wants to do nothing more, And if they won't use the same adverts, then he don't want nothing to do until the fight. He's stuck with his Under Armour and stuff like that. But yeah, I think, you know, especially for this fight, you just got to get in the gym, knuckle down, find a game plan, know the game plan. Because if he loses this fight, he's done, isn't it? There's still some big fighters there, but he's for the money he's got, he's not going to carry on.
Well, if he loses, you know what I mean? Mate, one, you're going to be in tears and probably never want to talk about boxing again. So for your sake, I hope he wins, let alone his sake. But yeah, it just surprises me. But to my knowledge, there's been no sort of post about him changing trainers yet, has there?
He's done a few videos, hasn't there? There's been a few shares. Like there was that guy that trained Mike Tyson, I think, from Nigeria. Obviously, done a bit of Eddie Reynoso. I personally, I would change just on that basis of not understanding the game plan. You know, but then he's been with him since the start, so he knows how to get him brawling. Again, that's not for me. I would change, but I don't know how it works. You know, you're loyal to your coaches. You've been with him a long time.
Yeah, I think as well, though, you know, we, as much as we sort of say, where did AJ go wrong? I think, you know, you've got to give so much credit to Usyk because his movement on the night was absolutely incredible. Like I think he was doing like, I think it's like 15 round spars, 4-minute rounds, 40-second rest in between. So his fitness was absolutely unbelievable. And I suppose when you're in there, again, this is a question for you, Jack, when you're a boxer and you're trying to hit someone that's just continuously moving, that's got to be quite tiring, I imagine.
Yeah, well, isn't it something like if you miss a shot, like you waste a lot more energy than you do if you land one and all that. So he was missing all night, so obviously it was going to be tiring for him. But one of the things that I think you just said it then, he was, what did you say, he was doing some kind of rounds or something?
I think Usyk, for preparation for the fight, he was doing like 15 rounds in sparring, 4-minute rounds, 40 seconds rest between rounds. So his fitness level was absolutely incredible.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking about AJ when you said that.
No, sorry, mate.
I'm carrying on with it anyway. But yeah, like for me, I always think like things like that ain't really that good. I always think that what I've always been taught is everything needs to be sports specific. So when he's doing things like that, doing 4 minutes round with such and such rest, it's not sports specific. And even though it's longer and harder, but you're judging the distance differently than you would. Obviously, you judge a 4-rounder differently than you would judge a 3-rounder, and you would judge minutes, and you would judge 5 minutes differently than you would judge 3 minutes. So because it's not sports specific, I don't really think that works out very well. But I mean, obviously, it clearly worked out well for him. I mean, sometimes things are mental, and you know, if it works for you mentally, then I guess keep on doing it. But for me, and for what I've been taught and what I've always been told, stuff like that doesn't work. Like you can go and run 10 mile every day, but running 10 mile isn't sport specific to fighting, you know, like a 4-round or whatever, because you need to do quick 3 milers, because that's more sport specific than doing a long, slow 10 miler. So yeah, that's my thing on it. But I mean, it was quite pointless because it wasn't AJ that was doing it; it was Usyk. But I thought because I went on that track, I might as well just mention it anyway.
Well, I'm not going to disagree, mate. You're the professional boxer. I'll just sit on a couch watching it. But quick prediction on the fight though, just before we move on AJ rematch.
Yeah, I think Usyk wins again.
I want AJ to win because he's British and he's done a lot for boxing, but I think Usyk may even stop him. Sorry, Carl, but what's your prediction, fanboy?
Nice chatting to you, lads. I'm off now, yeah? Like I said, in my heart, I want AJ to win, but in my head, unless he makes dramatic changes to what happened, I think you're right, he gets stopped. If he boxes him again, he gets stopped. But like I said, I think Usyk's going to train for a brawling AJ. And he just picks shots from nowhere. Like how he found somebody, especially like the hooks. Like he's in a clinch, you plan and whack, he's caught you. Like you blink and it just I don't really want to watch it, to be honest with you.
Well, we get you on after, mate, just to get your reaction. I'd love to do something where we could all watch it together, watch it live. Just that would be quality. But Conor Benn, world champion this year. Jack?
No, I don't think so. One, because I think the level of opposition in welterweight is massive, and I don't think that he's, well, again, I don't think he's really been in there with anyone that shows that he's world class. Like, you know, I think I actually made a video on this. Like, he keeps saying that, you know, what has he got to do to get respect, and he's like demanding respect, and all his step ups have been the easiest, so on and so forth. But I mean, he hasn't gone like the Southern area English British route. You know, he hasn't fought any good, you know, real contenders. You know, if you look at the way Josh Taylor did it, I mean, obviously he can't. Well, can he fight for the British? I don't know. Yeah, no, of course he can. Of course he can. But yeah, yeah, like he went a real hard way, and he tested himself every single way. Like, if you look at his, how many fights he had? 17.
I think he's had a few more. I think he's had 21 now, I believe. So we had we had Michael McKinson on a little while ago, and he obviously every fighter thinks they're going to beat everyone, of course, but he said, like, I asked him about Conor Benn, and I said what would happen if you fought him, and he basically said Conor Benn would be hitting fresh air all night, whether you'd agree with that or not. But yeah, no, it's a tough division, but whether he can do it this year or not. But do you think he'd be a world champion at some point?
Again, I don't think he's really shown it against anyone. He needs to step up. Like, who's the last three people he fought? I know he fought Vargas. And who was Vargas? He was just someone that got
German.
Yeah, familiar.
Sorry? Oh yeah. He, like, Vargas was just someone that, you know, got beat by everyone and went the distance. He never did any. He doesn't have a good name on his record. The German fella, again, the only person he was ever in with was Sean Porter, and he got beat comfortably by Sean Porter. Then he went in with the other American that didn't throw a punch for the whole fight, and then he fought an old, you know, way past it, Chris Algieri, who's like a part-time boxer, and his best days were at lightweight or super lightweight. So I don't understand why he's not fighting someone like Josh Kelly or David Avanesian, what people have been calling for, like real step-ups, real hard fights, so we can actually see how good he really is. And if he wants this respect so badly that he keeps, you know, demanding, well, you know, it's time to step up, sunshine, and actually fight someone that's half decent, like, and then you might get a bit of respect. But yeah, I don't know.
I think for Conor Benn, I think when he, you know, going into boxing, obviously with his dad, there's always going to be that added pressure on him to deliver and be a superstar, just like his old man. But I like him. I think he's a, you know, good boxer. And for me as well, he doesn't need to box. You know, he could have done anything. You know, financially, you know, he's obviously very comfortable, and you know, he talks a lot about being a world champion. You know, whether he will be or not, obviously time will tell. What about yourself, though, Mr. Draper? What are your thoughts on him potentially getting a world title shot this year?
I think this year's a bit short. I'm a big Conor Benn fan, but I think, like Jack said, the welterweight division is stacked. I think 18 months is a realistic timescale. I think in regards to the Avanesian, I'm sure I heard Eddie Earn say about Frank Warren had made an offer, and they said, look, we want more.
Yeah.
Let us do the fight. We'll pay the money. But yeah, I think the Broner fight's a good fight next. I think Jack will have something to say about that as well. But yeah, I like him. I think 18 months is a good time scale for him to, you know, a couple big Americans get over there, have a fight. And again, I agree with what you said about he doesn't need to do it. He's exciting, but yeah, he does need to step it up now.
The thing is, as well, he's a young man. You know, he doesn't need to rush. I know, you know, he wants to be a world champion, but that's for his team to manage him and put him in the right fights at the right time. But yeah, I respect all boxers. You know, it's a brutal sport when your objective is to knock someone unconscious. But you know, obviously, Jack's spoken about the working, the boxing, you know, getting up at 4 a.m. So, you know, Conor Benn hasn't got to worry about anything like that. He can just concentrate completely on his boxing. And for me, yeah, when you don't need to do that and you put yourself in that situation and, you know, you're trying to become a world champion, fair play to him. But again, only time will tell. And moving on to a few fights you would like to see this year. I'll go back to you, Jack.
The fights that I want to see the most in the lightweight division, I want to see George Kambosos fight Devin Haney for all the belts, and then after that, I want to see the winner fight Lomachenko, because even though I absolutely love George Kambosos, I still think that Lomachenko is by far the best lightweight in the world and potentially the best boxer in the world. And I was actually saying before he lost to Lopez, even in his very, very, very short career, I was actually saying that he's the greatest of all time. And that may sound absurd, but the things that man can do, I've never seen anyone do that. And he was making, like, not even like world class or half decent, he was making elite level boxers quit fight after fight after fight, not because they was taking mad punishment, but just solely down to the fact that they did not have a clue what to do when they was in the ring with him, and they were just like, I don't even want to fight this guy anymore because I don't even know what to do or how to adjust or anything. So I mean, it's kind of harsh just because he lost that I can't be like he's the greatest of all time. But I would love to see him come back, win, unify, and then, like he said, go down and then unify again. And because I want by the end of his career, even though he's quite old now, I want to say that like he was the greatest of all time, which I think can definitely happen if people want to step up and fight him. So yeah, they're one of the big ones that I want to see, and obviously I want to see Fury and Usyk again to unify everything, because I think Fury deserves it in his career. I think it would be a great fight, and it would be great to see a British man hold all the heavyweight titles.
Yeah, I'd love to see that fight be made. It would be absolutely brilliant. And hopefully Fury would do it and then walk away with all the belts. And yourself, Carl?
I would like to see. I agree with everything Jack just said there. By the way, Lomachenko. I watched him versus Campbell. I was there. He was incredible. He's just scary to watch. But my three are Sonny Edwards, Martinez. Although I do think Martinez beats him, not comfortably, but I think he wins that fight. He's a bit of a beast, isn't he? Crawford Spence, or if Crawford was to move up, Crawford Taylor, or is it Taylor moving up? Sorry, Taylor move up and fight Crawford. And then Wilder versus White. I think that's an absolute war. We've had that discussion already, so we don't, But yeah, Martinez Edwards is one fight I'd love to see.
Yeah, no, they would be brilliant fights as well. What do you think of the Khan Brook fight? Is that a fight you feel like it's just way past, or is there something you're still gonna tune in and watch?
We'll watch it. We'll all watch it, won't we? They're two of his biggest names in the last 10 years. I do think it's past his sell-by date, but I still think it'll be interesting. The build-up will be good.
Yeah,
I fancy Brook.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think they're both obviously clearly gonna cash out. I think regardless of whoever wins, I don't think they're gonna. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think for me personally, I think they're cashing out. It's come pretty like 7 years too late, but again, we're definitely watching that one.
I think the winner will fight Ben. That's what I think will happen. Yeah, I think that's probably in the pipeline already.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me.
I think Ben beats both of those. Comfortably in my opinion. Jack, yourself, is that a fight you're going to be watching?
I'll watch it as long as I don't have to pay for it, because I'm not really that emotionally invested in it anymore. I'm still interested to see it, but I don't know if I'm as interested to see it when it was like, if that fight would have happened 10 years ago and Eddie Hearn was like £100 for pay-per-view, I would have paid £100 to watch that fight on my TV. That's how big that fight was.
Yeah, huge.
But now, no, I'm not really interested to spend my hard-earned money to watch it. I thought back then Brook would win. I still think Brook will win now. And you know what? I actually think that Brook could probably beat Ben, because in my opinion, a lot of people would disagree with this, but I genuinely think that in his prime, Brook was elite, like genuine elite fighter. And I think he was the best welterweight around at one point in time. Like, he was winning the Triple G fight, in my opinion, until his eye got busted. And he was battering L. Spence until his eye got busted. I just think that he got so unlucky twice and had like a career-threatening injury in the same eye twice. Sometimes, you know, luck just doesn't go your way. And by the time he fought Crawford, he was kind of way past it. But I still think that, as I said before about Conor Benn, he hasn't shown me anything that suggests he's elite or really even half decent. Don't get me wrong, I think he has come a long way, but he's not taking the he's just not taking the step ups that I think, you know, he should be, and the step ups that the public deserve to see him in. And I still think that Brooks, even though way past it, I think he's still got a lot left to offer, especially against someone of Ben's level. Like, I think Brooks been there, done that, brought the t-shirt, where, you know, like Conor Benn hasn't.
I think as well, you know, he's with Matchroom, Eddie Hearn. He creates the, you know, massive hype train around him. But then I suppose arguably as well, you know, he wants to step up, but at the same time, he's got people around him putting him in the right fights. They don't want him to go in with someone that maybe he's not ready for. But it's hard. I know what you mean. But when you see him do interviews, it's all about the world title. I want it next. I'm ready. So I can see why, you know, you say what you say what you're saying. So you fancy him again? Fancy him to beat? You fancy Brook to beat Khan, and then you'd fancy Brook to beat Ben if they got it on as well.
Yeah, I do, definitely.
Well, only time will tell. Now, we can't end this without you having a say on West Ham.
Oh God, negative. Yeah, we're doing all right. I think we're struggling with injuries. I think the owners don't spend money. This was always going to happen with Europe.
Oh, come on, mate. You're fifth in the league. You've got Man City with all their money. Liverpool, you know, have dropped off a little bit.
I think if we never lost Zuma, we'd be higher. I'm telling you, if Zuma, Creswell, and Ogbonna didn't get injured, we'd be in that top three. People, well, I can't wait to see the comments on that, but I genuinely believe that. We've made, like, I think 4 errors leading to goals in the last, like, 6 games. We've made 1 in the first, like, 15. Might be a coincidence,
but
I'm happy.
Yeah, I was going to say, considering that, and you're what, 5th in the league, I believe.
Yeah.
And you know, there's, for me as well, when you look at the table and you look at the teams above you, there's no one there that you would go, you know, well, actually, maybe they shouldn't be. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's so tight up there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting. And being a West Ham fan, you still expect, you play Burnley away and you still expect to lose because of the West Ham that it is. And West Ham will turn up and beat Tottenham one week, but then lose to Norwich the next. We're inconsistent, but we're not looking over our shoulders. We're not worrying about who's playing who. We just look forward, and we're in the last 16 of Europe. We made the quarters of the cup, and just keep it going, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not a West Ham fan, but I think, like, consistency has been a problem for you. But I think over the last couple of seasons, you've you know, massively improved on that. You know, I know what you're saying. You know, one week you'll go and beat someone that, you know, you should, then next week you lose to someone that you shouldn't. But yeah, for me, they look like, you know, more of a consistent outfit. David Moyes, obviously second time around, seems to be like, you know, he's obviously got his feet under the table.
Can't fault him. He come in, the first thing he said was the players were unfit. He didn't kick a ball for, I think it was a month, 3 weeks to a month. Started off the same as he ended, not great. And then all of a sudden, when COVID hit and football come back, we was a completely different side. They just got to back him now. You know, he's proved that he can get players in on a little budget. So give him 30-40 million in January, which they supposedly have done, and see what he does with it then.
So for you, what would be a successful season?
I think if we can make the last 8 of Europe, I'd be happy with that. So get through the next round, reach the later stages of the FA Cup, and then top 7, I'd be happy. Anything below 7th, 8th, I'd be a bit like, especially where we are now at the halfway point, with the guys to come back in. I'd be disappointed if we finished outside that top 7.
I suppose, you know, the positive thing, you've got players to come back to strengthen the squad. And what about the league
That's it,
itself? I think our last few weeks have been quite significant. City managed to grind out a couple of results, obviously down against Arsenal. They managed to beat Brentford 1-0. So, yeah, a couple of results. Liverpool obviously drew with Chelsea, and they lost. Did they lose against game 4 last?
I was trying to think of this at work earlier. I can't remember who it was because I thought it was Chelsea, but it wasn't. It was it Tottenham?
Oh, do you know what, Jack? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't really follow football, to be honest, so I wouldn't know.
I was going.
Need to keep the eye on as well.
Well, you QPR, but yeah, sort of, yeah. We only talk about the Premiership on this channel, matey. But no, I can't. As soon as I get off here, it will come to me. Before I came on here, I was like, I know they lost, but I can't remember who they lost against. But the actual question was going to be about the title race. Do you think it's City's now?
I just think that they know how to grind results out. You know, I think they've got 2 11s of would get into any team in England. You know, you look at their backup options. You say if they go the front three of Mahrez, Jesus, and Sterling.
Yeah.
They've also then got Bernardo Silva, Foden. Do you know what I mean? It's their strength and depth is just unbelievable. And I just think, yeah, I think they'll walk away with it. I think they will at the end of it.
Yeah, when you
not by much, they're comfortable.
Yeah, like you say though, we know the strength and depth. You know, when you can leave Sterling out, bring Foden on, Grealish, and all the other attacking options they've got. De Bruyne seems like he's found a little bit of form again now. For me, along with Salah. I was going to say Ronaldo, but I don't want to talk about Man United at the moment. But some of the best players in the Premiership at the minute, even in the world. But yeah, no, I'd be interested to see how it all unfolds because it's been a good season so far, and see how the rest of it sort of plays out. But I was going to ask you, Jack, about QPR. You know, I know you're a fan. I don't know where they are in the Championship. Are you following them that closely this season or from afar?
Yeah, I think we're 5th at the moment, and we've got a game or 2 in hand over a couple teams. I think we're playing really well, and we're getting some really good results. And obviously, you know, to have a game or 2 in hand in the Championship and still be in the playoffs is obviously amazing. But, you know, I've been a QPR fan for a long time, and, you know, they just seem to break your heart more times than any woman has ever in my life, you know. Like, they just one minute they'll be on top of the world, and then it all just comes crashing down. So, like, you know, I'd love for them to make the playoffs, but there's still a lot of games left, and the Championship's so tight, you just never know. Yeah, so, you know, I'd like to see them do it, but as I said, you know, I just don't know if we will or not.
So what you're saying, being both a QPR and a West Ham fan, you're not that optimistic?
No, not really.
Well, listen, lads. I've really enjoyed both of you coming on here tonight. It's been good. I've not interviewed 2 people at once, but it's not really an interview. It's just quite an informal, you know, sort of conversation about your boxing, a bit about football, some fights, you know, from last year that you liked, fights that you want to see this year. So I'm very grateful for you both coming on.
Thank you for having me, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
No, you're both very welcome. Jack, anything you'd like to add before we leave?
Yeah, just quickly, when we was talking about work earlier, I just need to mention someone. I was actually going to mention it, but we kind of just like got sidetracked. Someone that brought some tickets to my fight last time. I don't know his last name. His first name's Guy. He's sponsoring me for this fight, and he's actually paid 2 months worth of my wages just so that I can concentrate full time on training camp for this fight. So I told him that I'm going to work this week of January because it's been bank holidays, so I'm getting triple pay for it. So I just said I'm going to work this week in January, and then after this week I can concentrate full time on my training. So I just wanted to give him a massive shout out because it's going to, you know, he's done a lot for me. Like, he really has.
Well, mate, what I can do for you, I can snippet that bit out and I can send it to you. So if you want to post it on,
please.
You know, tag him up. So yeah, no, mate, that's what a legend for you to have that 2 months where you haven't got to worry about work. That's absolutely brilliant, especially for such an important fight for you.
It's mad because I've only actually ever met him once, and that was a couple of weeks ago just to talk about what I just told you. Even though he come to my fight, I actually never met him. I just know him through a gym that I used to train at, Club KO down in Essex, and he was the friend of Noel, and Noel obviously said some good things about me, and he just took a liking to me. So, you know, for him to do that, it's a very, very, very nice gesture of him. I still don't even think I pronounced that properly, but yeah, that it's really nice of him, and I can't thank him enough.
No, that's right, mate. Don't worry about not getting your words out. You've seen any of the Prime Minister's speeches, mate. He stumbles all over the place, so I think we're allowed to. But no, mate, you know, hats off to him for doing that for you. Maybe he likes you because he's seen some of your singing videos. I don't know.
Maybe.
And yourself, Cole, I was going to ask you, where can boxers find you if they want to contact you about sorting out some merch?
Instagram, Boxing Royalty, and I've got it on Twitter, same thing, Boxing Royalty, but I don't really use Twitter for it now. So yeah, just Instagram, just drop me a message, a follow, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm quite active on there, so yeah.
100%. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just best wishes to Jack in camp. I'm sure I'll see you at some point.
Thank you, mate.
And also to Mark as well, who's fighting a couple of weeks later, Mark Little. Best wishes to him. I'm sure you'll have him on at some point. But yeah, good luck, and just smash it. And tell Terry I need to learn how to do some t-shirts, so I'll see you soon.
She's right here, so she had.
I heard her laugh.
Number one fan, isn't it, Jack?
She is, mate. She is the number one fan.
Okay, perfect, lads. All right, then. Well, thanks again to both of you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it. It's like a little bit different from the other videos that I've done previously. So yeah, top man to both of you. And I'll let you know when it's on.
Sweet, mate.
Sweet. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too, mate.
Take care, boys.
See you later.